Sup Shredders, my name is Logan aka Spiderhands and welcome to an SP Reviews where today I'm going to be checking out a track from an act named Sentinel Events titled 5 to 1. And if we switch over to here, we have ourselves a track on the screen. Apparently this is a tribute, a homage should I say, to Jim Morrison, who was the lead singer of The Doors. They actually made a track, The Doors, called 5 to 1. We're going to be listening to Sentinel Events in their version, or rather their track 5 to 1 should I say. I'm not sure how similar it is at this point, but we're going to listen to their take from start to finish and we're going to hear what we think. Their song. Let's go.
Yeah, come on. I love my nurse. Oh, she looking good. Come on.
It's very similar actually to the original.
5 to 1, baby. 1 and 5. No one here gets out alive now. You get yours, baby. I'll get mine. Gonna make it, baby, if we try.
Interesting use of delay with that lead guitar on the right, but the keys on the left.
Old get old and the young get stronger. May take a week and it may take longer. They got the drugs, but we got the numbers. Gonna win, yeah, we're taking over. Come on!
Ooh, really smooth transition into the lead there. The great wah tone. Production's tight.
Night is drawing near. Shadows of the evening crawl across the years. Walk across the floor with the needle in your hand, trying to tell me no one understands.
Really interesting drum grooves as well. I'm noticing those snares and the interesting 16th note kind of facets there.
In your hours for a handful of dimes. Gonna make it, baby, in our prime. Come together one more time. Get together one more time.
Great under octave work there with harmonies.
Get together one more time. Get together one more time. Get together one more time. Got to get together one more time. Gotta get together. Go back to the hut and wait for me. I'll be there in just a little while. You see, I gotta walk down the hallway with these people and, you know.
I mean, it's great use of Foley as well to sort of show the, showcase that idea of being in like a hospital of some kind there with the nurses.
Get together one more time. Together one more time. Get together one more time. Take you up in the mountains and get together. Get together. I love my girl. Get together.
I used the falsetto with the harmonies at the end was nice as well. Alright, okay, I think I get what this track is about, and I think we're going to discuss that more in the conclusion. Because welcome to the conclusion of my review of this track from an act named Sentinel Events, titled 5 to 1. Again, a reminder that this is, I think, it's like a tribute to the Doors, Jim Morrison. They of course released a track named 5 to 1, which I listened to. I listened to it for the first time today, and so I can kind of get an idea of the inspiration behind this track. And I didn't really care for the original. I don't want to set an awkward precedent here, because I think that Sentinel Events did a great job. If the direction they were going was trying to find their own identity within the original, was kind of including it, I think that they've made a track here which is really well performed, and I like a lot of the inspirations that have been taken from it. I think that they did make it their own, was kind of they needed to put their spin on it thematically, I think, lyrically. The original, I just don't really get the vocal style. I understand the vocal fry, and I understand the kind of psychedelic nature of like the late 60s and stuff like that, out to early 70s, but at the same time, I don't know, it just didn't really kind of vibe with me. I couldn't relate to what the person was talking about. Maybe I'm just too much of a prude, I don't know, but I can appreciate the musicianship of the track otherwise. I just don't think I connected with the vocalist. The original, I don't want to talk about the original too much because that's not the point of this review, but it did feature really competent performances from the guitarists, keys, the bassists, and drummers. You know, the instrumentalists in there were great. And Jim Morrison did a great job with the vocals too. I just didn't really sort of like feel it, quote unquote. And I don't want to go into that detail about that too much here, because again, this isn't the version we're talking about. We're talking about Sentinel Events version. If I talk about what I think this track is about, there's specific spin on it. It's like someone in a hospital trying to sort of take over, the 5 to 1 being the nurses, but like if we group up, we'll be able to sort of overpower them and get back control and stuff like that, which I think is a parallel to maybe, I think Jim got in trouble back in like a concert in Miami back in the 1969 for like the behavior that he was exhibiting at the time. So it's like a parallel to that, where like he was coming to deal with security. I think this is a parallel there being in a hospital. I think that's an interesting choice here, and I think that the way we're singing with the kind of breathiness of it, the kind of outer worldliness of it, sort of like the out of mind perspective of it, it's almost like we're kind of philosophical about the situation in the same way as we're trying to sort of encourage people to kind of get together and sort of revolutionize. We had really fantastic sort of awareness of how our melodies and the way we sung affected the rest of the parts of the arrangement and composition and production, whilst also adhering to what the song needed lyrically. I think the way the story was told was very authentic to the original, whilst also done in a way where Sentinel Events is identifiable. And I think that we're comfortable in a Hidden Chest voice. We had no issues sort of like with the actual performance itself. I don't think there was a note out of place. We're in tune. And there was a sense of sort of youthful vibrancy and expression there that belayed that level of experience. I think it sounded very sort of polished. And I think, I don't think this type of vocal style would have worked in every genre, but for the aura and the aesthetic that Sentinel Events were going through with this track, I think it was more than acceptable. There were lower octave harmonies of the vocals as well later on, which kind of reminded me like the kind of like crowd chants of the people getting together, which I think makes sense. The track itself at 4 minutes 26 is outside of our 2 to 4 minute sweet spot, and that's okay. We don't need a song to be that short or long respectively in order to be good. It just helps because that's a healthy amount of time to both give a certain amount of context to the track and the story, whilst also giving the instrumentalists enough room to like move around without overstaying our welcome on a theme if it's potentially getting stale. We didn't have that here. It was compelling with the various instruments we had in the mix, moving between different verse and chorus passages alongside instrumental solos. I'm happy with the combination of the bass, guitars, the keys, and the drums. I think they work together very, very well and were easy to understand what was going on at any point in time. The actual position of them in stereo field was interesting. It does remind me of a lot of the sort of like mono productions back there. We didn't quite have like a... I'm not sure when stereo came in, but a lot of stuff was recorded in mono back in the early 60s and 70s and stuff like that. So I'd like to have like the bass on one side or the keys on the other was quite special. You could easily sort of like distinguish what was going on there. The guitarist coming on another side as well. Never sort of like trying to get too involved with what the vocals were doing in the center of the stereo field until everything came in and it sort of was maintained presence anyways. It was a tight performance with a obvious amount of chemistry within the band members that was very pleasant to listen to, and I think it worked well with the theme, matching the tone of the lyrics and the vocals. But if we talk about the different instruments, I think that the bass was relatively conservative for this positioning. Again, I understand why the notes were chosen the way that in regards to the original, but I think also the bass had a bit of presence in this one. It was a bit shinier, maybe just due to the fact that it's 2023 audio production. It didn't overstay its welcome, reinforce the chord progressions and root notes really well. The keys, as well as the organs that we had there, was lovely and fresh and vibrant and had a real sort of authentic tone. I've said authentic a lot. Like, it sounded like it was from like the 70s. It had that kind of warmth to it, that kind of glow without sounding too digital, synthetic, which I really appreciate as well. The drums sounded nice and rounded and had presence, but were not overwhelming. They were cleanly recorded, and I'm happy with the way that we sort of worked with the various kick and snare rhythms as well. We weren't too sort of dependent on the cymbals. We're allowing the sort of like more red ragey elements to come through and have that perspective there, so that the cleans vocals could be more present in the mids and highs. Great sense of pace with the chord note accents, and ultimately just really satisfying. We needed that percussive element in there, with things being so neat with the bass and the keys and stuff like that. I mean, the guitars as well, when the leads came in with like the use of wah and tremolo and stuff like that, I think that was very satisfying, or whammy. We explored the pentatonics really nicely, worked well within the scale shapes and chord progressions within the track existing, and niched well into this frequency spectrum. There was space for everything within the composition. It never felt too much or too little. Again, I don't think it was a note out of place overall. The theme itself, I don't know how to identify it. I don't really know how to identify it with what we're talking about lyrically. I don't know what that music would be meant to sound like, but the inference wasn't obvious. I suppose we're just going for that kind of bluesy, kind of soulsy, kind of late 60s, not Doors-ish kind of oral concept there, the style, more or less, with the story being about a certain thing. We weren't necessarily trying to make the chord progressions and bass lines sound too close to what the lyrics are about. It wasn't meant to be too sort of like on the nose, but at the same time, I should note that the bits of follow we had, like the nurse, the people like the nurses talking, and the you could hear the sounds of the machines and everything like that, like you were being surrounded by the place they were walking through the hallway, etc. I think that was really good. But ultimately, I think things made sense together. There were connections between elements, and I think that it was competently written. The studio recording, mixing, and mastering was tight. We had great presence to the vocals as well as the other elements of the mix, and there was nice one stereo field with different parts placed in different areas to have their own sort of gap to sort of exist in and coexist. There weren't any resonant frequencies in the frequency spectrum, which was tight as well. There was sufficient dynamic range to be able to hear things. It wasn't the same perceived loudness all the time. There wasn't a whole lot of processing on the vocals. They just sounded like a really sort of clean take. And, it was a nice line without pumping, so the bus compression and limiting was handled. And again, another shout out to the Foley that was added in post, I assume. It sounded clean and like it was part of the track. But this is effectively my review of this track from an act named Sentinel Events, titled 5 to 1, and hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, please go show them some love via their various social medias and a Spotify page, and stay cool, stay safe, and please remember to support your local musicians and artists at this point in time, as either hell more than ever with all the crazy stuff going on in the world. And I'll catch you in the next review. Spiderhands out.